between you and me, right where you are right in this moment, is exactly where you were meant to be.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Welcome to the Joygasmic Life Podcast. I am your hostess, Elena Harder. This is a mini episode designed to give you a taste of what is available in our larger full interviews, as well as what we get into in the deeper version of our membership, where we have full video, bonus courses with our interviewees, and of course our weekly calls where we support each other mom to mom. We'd love to have you as part of the Joygasmic Life membership. So you're in your pregnancy, you had some challenging experiences. Do you think that, because I'm always curious about nausea, it's such a big thing. Like, what did you do that helped with that? Do you think that the emotional or the relationship instability contributed to that in any way?
I believe that anything that we experience on a physical level is something emotionally that we haven't dealt with 100%. And I haven't looked at this personally since this happened, because it was such a long time ago. But now with the knowledge that I have 100%, it had to contribute. And stomach and having nausea is usually related to worry, I believe. So I probably was worried to some level, even unconscious. And yes, that would contribute to that. And that could also be that the child was also worried and the spirit of the child was also worried. So a combination of both. That could be that. I think that aspect is about worry and being worried. Yeah. The nausea can also be like things we haven't accepted yet. So maybe if the child has some inner knowing of like, oh, this relationship isn't going to work, but my mom thinks it will, there's like some dissonance in there. Or, if we have doubts about the relationship, but it's still moving forward, it's like, oh, that can be in there. And then there's just like, there's also the like physiological stuff and things we can do from a physical perspective. But I think it's important to bring that mental emotional piece in too. If you're stressed out. So I could have a very hereditary pattern of nausea during pregnancy and not experience it if I have taken care of my emotions and emotional health. So I do believe that everything starts with the emotion and becomes the physical. So yes, 100%. So after that, I didn't feel the greatest. My energy level was not the best. I also felt I was not a physically beautiful woman that was pregnant, where everybody was like, oh my God, I gained a lot of weight, and a lot of the weight was like around my face. And I just felt, I did not feel good about myself. I didn't feel good about what I was wearing. So overall, I wouldn't say that I had the best pregnancy ever. It wasn't the worst. I did not have any medical condition. I just didn't feel great. At the end, when they did do the blood sugar test, I did have to monitor my blood sugar. So I was borderline the pregnancy diabetes. I'm not sure if that's the right term, but you know what I mean.
Gestational diabetes.
That's the one, yeah. So I had a borderline of that. So I had to monitor what I was eating. And again, it's an emotional thing that I was dealing with that contributed to that as well, right? However, overall, I wouldn't say that I had a bad pregnancy or I had any health conditions. They were minor issues in the picture, especially when you hear other people's stories.
Yeah, there's some pretty terrible stories out there. One of the women who was in our birth group this last summer, she was literally puking pretty much every day for 9 months straight. And I'm just like, oh, I'm so sorry, sweetheart. Like, that's so challenging. Even the nausea is really challenging, but to actually be throwing up and not being able to keep food down, it's like, oh, there's so many challenges. So I'm glad to hear
that. 3 months I did that. I don't know how she did it for 9 months. Like, it was already 2 months, 3 months, like puking, projectile. It was nasty.
Yeah. Well, I'm so sorry.
And he did tell me after that, when he was interviewing her, the only thing he could see was this older woman who was going to fall asleep on a chair while I was in labor. And that was his idea of it. And he was like, you know what? She's not going to shut up. Something's going to get that for her. And he actually admitted and said it to a lot of people after, that was the best money he ever spent. Like, he said He admitted he said it to so many people. He recommended that to anybody that was pregnant because he saw the value in it after, and he really appreciated it. So
beautiful.
the doula basically, she would give us unlimited phone calls for any issues, any concern. I could just pick up the call at any time if I needed just like help, or I wasn't in a good mood. I never really did that because I was pretty good with managing my emotions and everything. And then she also gave us our prenatal class, just the two of us, where it was like 2 days. We went there. She had her whole dining table set up with props, and then she fed us. It was like beautiful. It was intimate.
Aww.
Questions, so it was done closer to the birth date, so that way you still remember some of the stuff. It's not like something that you do every Wednesday for 2 hours for X amount of time. So I really appreciated that aspect.
So beautiful. I love all things vaginas and boobs, babies and birth, women. It's just like so magical, this like creative life force. There's so much more for you over in the Joygasmic Life membership. Become a bulletproof mom with us. Learn the tips and tricks and skills you need to recover from your postpartum mental health journey, and learn the tools of Joygasmic alchemy so you can have the kind of birth you've been dreaming of.